Okay, so yesterday we started talking about testing, and tonight we're going to continue that with an actual example of an automated test. So let's get started. First of all, I mentioned last night how important testing is, automated testing is, and how much time and effort it can save. So there are multiple ways of doing this in Solidity, and let me show you this article here. Come back here. So this article is very interesting because it talks about, I think this is the one, there are a number of ways to testing it. You can use what's built in Remix. You can also, let me see if I found the different, okay, this is the one that has the different options, I believe. No, this is, okay. Well, there are different ways of doing it. And this one here is the using Truffle. Now, if you recall, Truffle is allows you to connect. It has debugging, and it also likes JavaScript. So this is a sample contract, and then they do test cases, and they're going to use JavaScript. And essentially, this is similar to what you would do when writing a D app using the JavaScript to write your tests. And this is something to try. It's not something I tried yet. And then they show you how you can test it. And it prints out the results. So that's one way of doing it in the Truffle framework. What I've been working with is the Remix tests. Now, Remix tests are very interesting. They're built into Remix. So, see, we have our files, our compiler, our deployment, debugging, and this thing with the chevron. This is the contract verification. This is the unit testing plugin, and like any of the plugins, what you do is you just activate it, and right there, Solidity unit testing. And what it does, if we get back into this, is you can actually generate tests. Let's see. If you click on here, which it says how to use, it'll go in, well, I don't think you can see that, but it'll provide the documentation on how to do it. And there are a couple of, you have to, I had to play around for a bit. Like this stuff I'm not using now, so that's one thing sometimes I forget, is to get rid of dead code, and sometimes it depends on the actual contract that you're working on. In my field, you're working in one place and they want things done one way, and sometimes I worked on one assignment, one thing where they didn't want you deleting code you weren't using, so they'd have a record of it. Most of the time they want this stuff cleaned up. So anyway, back to the thing. This is the stuff you set up beforehand. Now, in this framework for generating unit tests, this is probably kind of similar to JUnit, if you're familiar with Java unit testing. So what's here is, let me get rid of this too, because this is, again, something I'm not using. Did I delete something? Control Z. I think I delete something I didn't want to, like the function header. Sometimes this web-based UI, and even though it's running locally, it's still web-based. It's still, all right. Hopefully I didn't blow anything, but there are two things that are automatically included. When it generates a test file, it automatically includes the remix libraries, the contract that you selected, and I can show you a little bit how the original thing is generated. So you got this contract, and you go through. There are different things you can use, different functions that are built in that you can implement. Before all, in this case, is what I did. I am creating a new version of the contract. I am giving it the input. I am setting the various things, various values that I want to make sure it's set, like the payer address and provider and different things. And then there's an assert. Assert basically says, if this is right, otherwise print this error. So it's saying, so this is more of a test. Again, this is part of the built-in, which I'll show you. And then these functions, check success, check failure. This stuff is all let's see, what am I doing here? Yeah, this is an example of testing senders and things like that. So this was all built in. And this is the new one I wrote. Now, I had to make some changes to the original contract, or it didn't like it, because apparently public doesn't do what you would think in Java, where if you make a variable public, you should be able to use it in other methods. No, you actually have to use, if you want to use something outside of the contract, as we're doing here, as we're making calls, trying to get the different values, like here, provider approved, whether the provider approved, and here, the address, setting the payable address, because remember, in the contract, it gets a payable address through message .sender. And so it has to be, I want to say, now thinking about it, it may be able to pick it up, and that's something to test with the debug, but I want to have these known things, so I can set, this is more, I was testing this out, but you have to actually have public methods to do this. Now when you get, so let's go back and look at the contract. Let me just make sure you still see, no. Let's do that. Let me switch it up again. Let's see, I gotta get back to Remix. Gotta get back to, is that it? Nope. Yep. Okay, now you can see it again. I don't know why it does this. Anyway, going back here to our contract. And it did. So I had to add a bunch of these types of methods like get terms, get cost. Well, I think those were in there. But I had these are the ones: get consumer approved, set consumer approved, get provider approved, set provider approved, set payer address, set provider address. So that, and these all have to be public methods, so that the other contract, the test contract, if you will, can see it. So going back here, I created this. This is just one test here, one custom test. So let's go back to here and you run it. And you can see it's running. So this new thing didn't pass. The only one that failed was one that's actually designed to fail, which is check failure. Gives you kind of a clue that it's supposed to fail. But the key thing is I had to set everything up in the before all, before each. So if you want to change something before each test, now you don't specify it because you're using the libraries you are, and it will treat them as tests using this plugin. Again, this is the Solidity unit testing plugin. So now let's say you want to create a unit test for, let's see, is this the one? Let's bring this one up here. Okay, let's go over here and let's look at this one. Let's compile them. All right. So now we're back here and let's see. So we're going to call this, we're going to keep this in tests. This is kind of the default, and we hit, this is the one selected. We selected test user wallet, and we're going to hit generate, and there you go. So what does it do? So it imports the libraries, it imports the contract you're testing, and then it does these skeleton functions that we saw before that set everything up. And what you would just have to do is write your custom functions, and it puts it, see if we can see this. So let's see where it put it. We have performance. It put it under here, under tests. So performance contract test user wallet test. And if you go back here, you're looking at test user wallet, and it's gonna do its thing just like it did. Oh, wait a second. This is this? Okay. I thought I was on test unit wallet. Probably. Oh, it was selecting both of them. So you can see here, it then goes and tests that, and this is correct as well, because again, it has one of the methods is designed to fail. So this is what it gives you, and then what you would do is you would go to test unit 1, you'd write a method to test this. So they actually have some examples of that that I'd have to look for. There are examples that have specifically test these payable functions. So let's see. Oh, I think it's in the remix documentation. And actually the quickest way to get to that is, again, this how to use, open link in new tab because I don't want to create a new window. So unit testing plugin, this is all the documentations, part of the Solidity documentation. Let's see. So this is another example here, and they have something. Let's see if that's a simple example, but they have example of this testing by example that I'm going to need to find. But you can find the documentation and actually go over some other aspects of this. So this is one way of creating automated unit tests for your contract, and it's a good practice to do because it'll find bugs earlier, and the sooner you find your bugs, the easier it will be to fix them. The later on, the more painful it is. So you can use this. You can use, if you like JavaScript, you can use the Truffle method, and maybe we'll get into that at some point. Solidity. I was hoping I'd be able to find that example. Anyway, hopefully this has been helpful to you. If it has, then please give a like. Please subscribe. Please ring the bell to get further notifications, and share it with your friends who might be interested. And I will speak to you next time.